Egypt in the 50s, during Nasser and before Nasser, Egypt was looking for an identity. Because if you look at the history, Egypt was occupied by the Persian, the Greeks, the Roman, and then the Arabs. And just BC will be Greeks, Persian, the Greeks, BC, and then the Romans, and the Arabs in the 6th centuries and 7th centuries. Arab came and invaded Egypt. And when you say word invade, it's very debatable. So if you said Egypt was invaded, or was kind of like a revolution thing, the Arab came and flourished the country and did good things to the country. Most Muslims will say that. Most Christians will say, no, it was invasion. And I think it was invasion. Why? Because the Christian had a problem with the Christian in the West at that time. We had something in the people who have studied theology, it's called Chalcedonian Council, which is, it's in, I believe, 51 AD. During this time, the church in the East and West was debatable about the Christology, the nature of Jesus Christ, how many natures they have. And it was more than just theology, it was political, because around this time you have 4 seats. One in Alexandria, one in Jerusalem, one in Antioch, which was Syria, now it belonged to Turkey, and one in Jerusalem, and the last one, Rome. And when you speak about the Roman Empire, so the seats in Rome has more power than the one in Egypt, because they had the emperor too. So it's not only a theological power, but was also mixed with political power. So the church in Alexandria is saying, they are not better than us. Why do we hear to them? Why do we listen to them? But it was not really about the theological debate, it was more about the political power. And actually this tension is still alive until this moment. I remember when the Pope Paul John II, what's his name? Yeah, that's right, okay. So the former Pope, he came to Egypt, and I mean, his identity, when you come to a foreign country, he's the boss of he's the president, and he's also the head of that big Christian community. So my President Mubarak went to the airport as to do all these protocols and receive him. My Pope didn't go there, the Coptic Pope. They said, like, he's not bigger than me. He's not higher than me. So you still, that's what I say, in Egypt a lot of history lies. In the West we studied about that, that's something happened like 1,500 years ago, but actually it's still there. And the tensions between Catholic and the Coptic Church is still alive there. Still alive until this moment. So, after Arabs invaded Egypt, so the leaders of the Christian community said, okay, we prefer to have the Arabs to be our rulers instead of the Roman Empire. So they actually helped the Arabs to came, and they made this treaty between them. What do you want as a Christian community? We want to worship free. So you worship free, we rule the country, and that's it. The story started to be not only be nice, but started in the 10th century. The Arabs applied the idea of the lingua franca, about Arabs have to be, you can't buy, you can't sell, you can't function a country without your language as the Arabic. We have one about the Coptic language. I believe so. Yeah. If you are familiar with the Greek, it's exactly Greek vowels and Greek letters, but yeah.
There you go.
Thank you. That's better. But I mean, the Egyptians just like to twist things, so they twisted the Greek to make it their own, and it's really the same. And I remember I heard some when I was young in my church, but it doesn't make any sense to us. This language became a dead language in the 10th or the 11th century, because the Arabs said you can't practice that. And the tension in the church said, if you practice Arabic, you became a really a heretic. You believe in other language. So Arabic in this time was equal to be Muslim. So after a long time, a new movement of Arab Christians said, there is no way to fight now. We have to start a new movement. So they start to write theology in a very Arabic language. And until this time, I'm amazed every time I read it. It's very close to the Muslim language. It's very close to the Quranic language, but it's all about Trinity. It's all about debate. It's all about how we can explain our religion to you. Because this time, the 10th and the 11th century AD, Christianity not anymore the majority. So you switch it from being the majority, nobody's asking who you are, what's your belief, what's your bad ideas about you believe in 3 gods and you believe Jesus is Son of God and all these things which is not really accurate to the Muslim faith. So the rulers brought them and asked them about their faith. So and then that's where the apologetic theology starts in the Arab world. I believe, because that's very, very hard. Every time I have a quick conversation with somebody about what do you think about the relationship between Muslims and Christians? It's really, I said, it's not black and white. It's not just one event happened in a history and you can judge the whole history. Bad things happen and still some bad things happening right now. But I feel if you only focused on this event, it's not fair. Because there is other things happening too. It's very positive and very, really coexistence between Muslims and Christians and Jews sometimes. So, and I say, maybe it's gray sometimes, maybe in my own perspective, it's because of the relationship. We are very emotional people, we know everybody, but if we don't know you, we can hurt you. But if you know me, maybe you won't be concerned about saying bad things. Even you believe this religion is really, it's not, these people are crazy, they believe in 3 gods or something. But if he is my friend, or if he is my neighbor, his perspective will be really controlled by respect. But I don't buy it, but I like him. I grew up with him or her. I lived with them, we ate together, we did good things together. So it's, in the South, is very positive in my own perspective because we're still very traditional, very old. We know almost everybody. Everybody, literally, thousands of people around your village or your city. In the North, with all this huge explosion of population in the North, especially in Cairo, you speak about tiny city with 20 million people. So there is no way. A new dynamic developed since 50s and 70s. It's not the same way you speak about the Egyptian community from the 50s and 60s. Things happen, poverty, persecution. When we say persecution, not only applied for Christians, persecutions for Baha'is, persecution for Muslim Sunnis. Actually, if you are Christians in Egypt, I think your situation is a lot better than compared if you are a Muslim Shias. You will be in a big trouble. If you are Baha'is, you can put your religion in the ID. That's another point is, in my ID, how I have still I'm keeping my Egyptian ID. Because they will not take it with me after what Mubarak did. So you are coming from America, he's scared now from that. So that's my ID. It says my name, my city, and in the back said my occupation. So I'm a Presbyterian pastor. Sometimes, many times can be a positive thing, and a little bit can be trouble. Which Presbyterian I belong to, my gender, my religion. And until a few years ago, if you are really a good, a reader of newspaper or following the news in like a few years ago, the Baha'is. Is any of you familiar with the Baha'i faith? Yes. Okay, so that's not that's not a new term for you, okay. So the Baha'i people are really very, very few in Egypt. And even I wasn't aware of they exist in Egypt. And they were fighting to write under the religion, not to write anything. So there is no Christian, no Muslim, no Jew, anybody, or to write Baha'is. So if Christian can write Christian, if Muslim can write Christian, Muslim, why not us? So they were fighting and they said, no, because your religion is not is not really under the category. We only approved 3 religions: Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. And last year, they said that the Supreme Court in Egypt, okay, said you can leave it blank. Because for a long time, they actually said there is choice. You can write Muslims. They said you are not Muslim. Baha'i is not part of the Islam religion. But they said you can consider yourself a Muslim sect, and we can accept that. And they said no. So the last thing they can get now from the Supreme Court is to just leave it blank. So when you see no religion there, that means they are Baha'is. Go back to our constitution saying we believe only in 3 religions because our Quran says we believe in the Christians and Muslim and Jews according to the Quranic test. But for the political reason, can you find us the cute guy, Nasser?